Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today. We're going to explore how we can take the unavoidable everyday struggles we all face and totally transform them. And listen, we aren't just talking about merely surviving hard times, we're talking about turning them into a purposeful process of ultimate personal growth. It's a massive perspective shift, honestly. The insights we're unpacking today are incredibly powerful. We are going to break down the sheer alchemy of taking raw, difficult resistance and turning it into something truly meaningful.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever stopped to think about what truly unites every single human being on Earth? I mean, across billions of people, totally varying cultures, vastly different day-to-day routines, what's the one undeniable thread that connects my life to yours and to literally everyone else's?
Well, there is something incredibly leveling about our shared reality. Think about your economic status, whether you're rolling in wealth, living comfortably, or struggling to make ends meet. Consider your health, whether you're currently at absolute peak physical fitness or maybe you're battling a severe long-term illness. Think about your geographic location. It doesn't matter what continent, what country, or what specific city you call home. And consider food security, whether you have an absolute abundance of resources at your fingertips or you face the harsh reality of daily scarcity. You see, none of these varying factors exempt us from the fundamental human condition, no matter who we are or what we do. The one absolute thing we all have in common is that we face problems in life. It's the universal baseline. Which brings us right to our first core concept. Section 1, the great human equalizer. Problems are an inherent part of the human experience.
You know, it's so easy to view problems as these awful disruptions to our lives, right? Like they're just getting in the way of our actual happiness. But actually, scratch that. Let's completely flip the script here. Resolving problems actually equals a better, greater, and purposeful life. They aren't just a glitch in the matrix. The very act of engaging with and resolving the friction in our lives is exactly what generates our sense of purpose. The more problems you resolve, the better, greater, and more deeply meaningful your life actually becomes to you.
But hey, if resolving problems ultimately gives us purpose, why do we hate them so intensely? Well, that leads us to Section 2, the trap of resistance, fighting the inevitable. Get ready for a massive, paradigm-shifting plot twist. The real problem? It's not actually the problem itself. Nope. The real problem is our resistance to it. It's our resistance that makes these everyday challenges feel completely monstrous. Just think about that for a second. We take a standard, perfectly normal hurdle in our day, and we inflate it into a towering, terrifying monster in our own minds, simply by refusing to accept that it's happening to us.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact point with a famous timeless saying, that which you resist persists. It is so incredibly easy to get completely caught up in the emotional struggle against our difficulties. We rage at the unfairness, we complain, we passionately wish things were completely different than they are. But by doing that, we lose sight of the foundational reality we established just a minute ago, that problems are just an inherent, perfectly normal part of the human experience. When we actively fight against the mere existence of a problem, we essentially guarantee it sticks around, keeping us locked in a really tight state of ongoing distress.
Let's actually break down the mechanics of this resistance. When we fight against the problem, we get stuck in a distinct downward spiral. It starts internally. First, it completely clouds our judgment. We get so blinded by the sheer frustration of the situation that we totally lose our objectivity. And because our judgment is clouded, the emotional pain of the situation is dramatically amplified. A minor setback suddenly feels like an absolute catastrophe. Ultimately, this heavy emotional state makes actual solutions infinitely harder to find. We end up spending all our valuable, limited energy fighting the mere existence of the problem instead of spending that energy actually trying to solve it.
So, how do we finally break out of this exhausting trap? That brings us to Section 3, the power of acceptance, shifting the energy.
When you compare these two paradigms, the difference in how we actually experience life is just staggering. The path of resistance is exactly what we just described, a cycle of negativity, clouded judgment, and a continuous, incredibly draining battle against reality. But the path of acceptance? That path is characterized by a real willingness to work, and involves a completely shifted energy, and fundamentally, it turns the obstacle into a productive process of learning. When we approach our daily challenges with a genuine sense of acceptance, the entire energetic state of the room shifts. It's no longer a battle you feel like you're losing, it becomes a dedicated space for your own growth.
So, the crucial point here is how we accurately define what this looks like in practice. Acceptance is simply approaching challenges with a willingness to work through them, shifting the energy from a battle to a process of learning. That is it. Acceptance definitely does not mean you suddenly like the problem, and it absolutely does not mean you're just giving up and passively letting the problem run you over. No way. It simply means you are acknowledging reality right here and right now without judgment so you can begin that highly productive process of learning and moving forward.
Once we make that shift in energy, the long-term rewards are absolutely incredible. Let's move to Section 4, Building a Meaningful Life, the Alchemy of Growth.
Let's look at how this all builds step by step. Step 1. Face the inherent challenge. Look, we know it's coming. We established early on that this is the great human equalizer. Step 2. Accept and work through it. We consciously drop the resistance, we drop the completely useless battle against reality, and we shift our emotional energy into a state of willingness. Step 3. Gain resilience and wisdom. Now this right here is the actual alchemy. You take the raw, heavy, frustrating material of a difficult challenge, you apply the willingness to work through it, and the magical, inevitable output is profound personal wisdom.
Let's look at what overcoming these challenges actually builds within us. Think of it as a series of profound upgrades to your character. First, deep resilience. Think about it. Every single time you actively work through a problem rather than fighting its existence, your psychological capacity to handle the next one expands. Second, true wisdom. This is hard-earned knowledge that you simply cannot get from reading a textbook. Third, it gives us a much deeper understanding of ourselves. We learn exactly how we react under pressure, how we cope, and what we're truly capable of enduring. And finally, a deeper understanding of the world around us. Each challenge we successfully navigate layers these vital, permanent qualities right into our character. We aren't just getting past a problem so we can get back to normal, we are actively upgrading who we are.
Navigating these difficulties is the precise mechanism by which we end up discovering our true strengths and what genuinely matters in life. It's exclusively through this navigation process that we uncover our hidden capabilities. When everything is on the line, we strip away the noise and figure out what is genuinely, fundamentally important to us. And ultimately, this is exactly what leads to a deeply meaningful, purposeful life. It's an incredibly powerful perspective to deliberately embrace when the going inevitably gets tough.
Which brings us to one final, absolutely vital question for you. How will you approach your very next obstacle today? Because let's be real, there will be one. It might happen in 5 minutes or it might happen in 5 hours. You now know that reacting with pure resistance is only going to make that obstacle monstrous and amplify your pain. But you also know that choosing radical acceptance can transform that very same obstacle into a powerful engine for your own resilience and wisdom. The choice of which path to take is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, stay focused, embrace the challenges, and keep growing.